Greetings and welcome to Voices Less Heard podcast with Dr. PMak. I'm so excited to have you join us today. On the Voices Less Heard podcast, I really bring on board people that go about doing their ordinary business, but having an extraordinary impact on community. And so I just find these conversations stimulating and interesting just to see what people are doing in community here in Canada and beyond. So today I'm joined and having a fantastic conversation with Oneil Randall. And Oneil Randall is the president and CEO of the Vancouver Island Caribbean Hub. He's also the president and CEO of Fusion Rise, an organization that is working towards provision of supportive housing and affordable housing to people of African descent here on the island and beyond. Oneil Randall is active in community, active in supporting the causes of people of African descent on Vancouver Island as well as across British Columbia. And so join me on Voices Less Heard today as I speak with Oneil Randall. So Neil, part of the conversations that we always have about how to build community and how to promote this sense of togetherness. And I know that your work, you've been doing a lot of community building. Tell me more about the Island Fest. How did that idea come about?
Yeah, Patrick, thanks for having me first.
Sure. Yeah.
Island Fest came out of a place of need,
Mm-hmm.
out of a place of discomfort in a sense, because moving here to Victoria, there wasn't culture.
Yeah.
And I, as an individual, culture and food for me is two
It's
big
important,
things, right?
Yeah.
And I realized that, it's two things going to happen. It's nice here. The weather is better. It's still Canada. But I was like, hey, you know what? To my wife, I was like, if we're not going to bring culture here,
Yeah.
we have to leave here.
Yeah.
So, from 2021, we moved here. Island Fest was registered. Trying to get the community together, it was a hard task.
Yeah.
And, 2024 decided that, you know what? Let's do it.
Yep.
We don't care if it's going to be 5 person or 3 person. We're just going to launch Island Fest.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how Island Fest came about. It came out of a place of need.
Yep.
And that when based on the turnout, it was not just for me, but I saw my people came out. So it was a community need.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, so that's interesting. So how did the first edition go? Like you said, you don't care if it's 1 or 2 people that come out. How many people came out?
Man, over the 2 days,
Yeah,
we're exposed to over 10,000 people.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
We had 400 masqueraders on the road.
Wow.
We had one float, taking over Government Street.
Yeah.
It was a proud moment for people. And just having over 2,000 people on Government Street watching this parade was crazy. Just beyond words.
It's crazy. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was expectation was speechless.
Yeah. So how long did that take you to pull that off? Like,
well, you know what? When we decided we were going to do Island Fest this year, we started planning probably in February.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just, and that's
then
pulled off between me and my wife, right?
Yeah.
Glad thing is that at the end of close to the execution, the community stepped up in their volunteering effort. We had over 60 volunteers.
Wow.
Helping to make sure that happened. So even though me and my wife do all the back leg work, it still would not have been possible without the 2 main ingredients, which is the volunteers and our community coming out. So I just want to say thanks to my wife.
Yeah.
Thanks to our volunteers and thanks to the community for showing up.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. And so 2025, we are in 2025 now. And so what are the big plans? Like, do you see twice the number of people coming up? What do you have? Just give us a sneak peek into what's
coming. Just a sneak peek is that we right now, we're looking to close the carnival season in Canada.
Okay.
So we are a sustainable carnival as well. So most of what we stand for, I think it's going to work. I don't know if Victoria is ready for the crowd that is going to be pulled onto this island here.
Wow.
For this year, because people are they're checking in. People are like, hey, we're going to be there. People are like, didn't know about it. People who had plans otherwise were so upset that they weren't there. They're going to be here. So, just a little speak. Last year we made the hotel industry made close to $300,000 from visitors.
$300,000.
And our food vendors was pulling in at close to 100,000 with everyone,
just over
with
2
all
days.
the vendors over 2 days. So
wow, that's amazing.
That's one of the things that we're saying this year. Oh my gosh, I don't know. We're very nervous. We're trying to find a bigger venue. Still working on the venue because like we want to make sure that families can come and have a good time and set that environment right. So a lot of work been going on, but this year is going to be bigger and better for sure.
That's beautiful. And how has been the public sector and even private sector collaborations have been? Have you had any support coming from the city of Victoria, from different government ministries? As you know, Victoria is the home of the provincial government, right? And so any interest there?
Yeah, as I said, the home, our title last year was Madness in the Capital, right? Because we have created history last year by bringing Carnival to the capital of British Columbia. First execution. So to your point, yes, the city of Victoria has been tremendously supportive behind this initiative. They have been working with us from the day when they heard that it was going to happen.
That's beautiful.
And they have never ceased from then until now. Relationship is solid with the city. CRD came up, they did what they could for us. They support us. We got some funding also from Heritage Canada for our display of our carnival history and our Caribbean history. And we even got $1,000 from Walmart. There's something there.
That's good.
And I believe that there's some of the provisional funding that we weren't qualified for last year because we had to execute first and all that stuff. So all those other fundings, we are now in those lines and we've applied and waiting to hear back.
Okay, great. And so you spoken about Caribbean heritage and culture. What was growing up like for you? So did you grow up here in Victoria? Did you grow up here in BC? Tell us your story.
Good question. Well, I'm an island boy.
Okay.
Jamaican by birth. I've been in Canada 6 years now.
Okay.
So I am fresh. My native tongue, my culture is fresh in me, and I don't intend on giving that up. For Canada, because what I've learned about Canada is that it's made up of everyone else's tongue and culture. So I'm unique in Canada because I have something that belongs to me. So I grew up in Jamaica, grew up as a little country boy, grow up, go to school, did what I was supposed to, and do the right thing. But after I, growing up, I started thinking about life from an early age. And I was like, you know what? I have to make some tough decisions here. So I actually joined the military at age 17.
Okay. Wow.
And there was logics behind that. I was like, I could be earning my own money while I'm learning, instead of me going to school and trying to pressure parents and all that stuff. So that's where I got my, my education. The government paid for that. They pay me to do what I did best. And did 10 years serving my country.
Wow.
And then I left and started doing business. I am a health and fitness professional as well. So I had a nice fitness brand, FitRev, back in Jamaica there. And I met my wife, and she's Canadian. We got married. Obviously, no, I'm gonna have to leave Jamaica, right?
Yep.
So here I am. I'm in this land, and I have came here, and the experience here initially wasn't that welcoming. Wasn't nice as a black man here.
Okay.
As an immigrant, So I made a tough decision by using my skill set to become self-employed rather than to be treated like how my foreparents were in the modern day society. And that has not been easy as well. But I'd rather to walk that walk than to be treated as how my foreparents were. So that's kind of my journey here. So now I'm in Victoria for 4 years now. And it's home. So whatever is missing from my culture, from my people, my duty is to make sure that it is here. And
wow,
I'm going to be working relentlessly
yep,
to make sure that while breath is in my body, that happens.
Wow. Over the time that I've known you as someone who is community centric, right? I've never one day heard you speak about I. You've always said we, the people, we need to be able to move forward. We need to, really put hands to the plow and work hard to secure the future for our own children. Is there a particular incident that sparked the we? Is there a particular incident in your life that made you think, hey, I can't do this alone. I have to do this with community?
Well, you know what? I guess it started from birth. While I was growing up, I was just always bringing people together from a youth. I'm always like the leader of the pack.
Yeah.
And I choose not to be a follower for many reasons, because there are many leaders who don't know where they're leading and what they're leading. And I rather give accountability than to be sorry for following someone's stupidity. So from a youth, I realized that I wasn't an average Joe.
Yeah.
We as human beings, we are at many levels. And I kind of realized a little bit early that I was not at the lower level. I was born to be a leader, if you want to put it that way. So through primary school, I was a prefect. I was always, I was in cadet as well.
Yeah. And you told me, were you an ordained minister as well?
Yeah, I gotta get to that.
Oh, okay, we'll get to that. All right,
so
let's keep going.
In the school, I was leading, and I didn't know all of these things. It's just when I get older, because I said wisdom come with age, and then I started reflecting. I realized that I wasn't placed here just for being here, right? And I spent, as you said to your point, I spent 5 years in the pulpit. But what I was doing, to your question as to the we and not the I, like the military play a big role in that, because when you're serving, there's no I.
Yeah.
When you go out on a patrol or you're doing an operation, whatever it is that you're doing, it's a team initiative. And being of a Christian background as well, don't practice Christianity much these days, but being of that background, it has taught you as well that there's no I, right? It's always collective. So being in the pulpit, it was always about community, how we can help each other, counseling people when they're in need of help, spreading the good word, as a good gospel, as they would put it, and from then on, even being in my life right now, I have, I have my family, and I have to be an example for them. I have to be a leader for my wife. I have to be a leader for my household. And hence, serving the community has not been hard for me, because I have enough practice under my belt.
Sure.
And many small skills. That was preparing me for the bigger task that is now taking place.
Okay, so talk about preparation. I love hearing that a bit. And so talk about preparation. You land in Victoria. How was it? How was coming into this place? Yes, we were in an island, and you're coming from an island too. But how was it? Do you think that all of the things that you had done up until the point 4 years ago you landed in this on this island, do you think that you were well prepared now, or you still feel you're on this journey of continuous preparation?
Yeah, the journey in Canada started in Calgary, right? So I spent 2 years there. And then we visited here, and I'm like, I saw a lizard, I saw ants. I'm like, there's life here.
Yeah.
In Calgary,
No, nothing.
It's 8 months of winter.
So sure.
To this point where we are in Victoria now, to answer your question, boy, what can I say? A leader is always in training. Is always been prepared, especially when you are leading people who have been trained to believe otherwise, trained not to believe in themselves, trained not to appreciate their own, trained not to do a lot of things besides the opposite of what they should be doing as a people. So the preparation for me, the before preparation was good.
Yep.
But what happened now is that now it's just like with raising your children or in a marriage. It's like it doesn't matter how much books you read. You still got to go through that experience and learn that how to deal with it. The same thing with being a leader. Like each time you go to a next level as you evolve, you have to deal and learn how to deal with your people.
Okay.
And the scenarios.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So that's interesting you speak about that. This morning, as part of just my early morning reading, I was and listening. So I was listening to something by Dr. Miles Monroe.
It's one of my mentor, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Not in person, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so what I was listening to was just the talk on leadership. And one of the things that he said was the higher you go, the lonely it becomes.
Agreed.
Particularly if you are holding a vision.
Agreed.
That you don't have a crowd around you. So how has it been for you? How have you, as you have, I know, and we're going to talk about the different organizations and businesses that you're managing and you're leading right now. How is that leadership space for you? Who supports you? Who's around you? And I know you talk a lot about your wife, and thank God for that support that you have. But how have you been handling this leadership role in community?
Well, thank you for that question. Very good question. I don't have the exact answer. But what I do know that is that my wife has been very instrumental in my aid.
Yeah.
And I've come to the place where I started to spend a lot of time with nature.
Okay.
So I think meditation is a very powerful way of connecting you with your source of life. And when you're connected with source of life, it overrides any other help that you would have or need. Because now your maker or your creator is now your teacher. And it can be lonely sometimes. It can be scary. It can be difficult. But the joy for me and the motivation for this, for what I do, is that when I do something and someone says thank you and they smile, I know that when somebody smiles, they're not sad. And they smile for many reasons, opposite of what trauma, of opposite of what stress, hurt is. So whenever time we do things and people are benefited and impacted and lives are changed for the better, that's what pushed me. I think those are the energy that comes
to support
you
as
as
a leader.
Support me to go, because if I'm making the world a better place, then the world is obviously supposed to make me a better person.
Wow, what a well sort of thought out response. And so get us into the entrepreneurship activities that you are involved in. And so you've got Fusion Rise, you've got the fitness business, you've got the Island Fest. What is a day in your life like? How do you work across all of these things?
Well, you know what? It's not easy, but I always say to myself that somebody have to do it. What I get myself involved with is what benefit the us, is what benefit the we. Like I look on, being into construction, for example, in Fusion Rise. Part of our initiative here is to train those who are less fortunate, those who are going in, who are in poverty, those who will not get that opportunity to benefit from the construction industry, in a positive way, especially our people, minority groups who are always at the lower tier of the food chain, right? So Fusion Rise is going to be that elevator, that enlightener to help people like those to get the right training, the right practical training, and the right theoretical training.
So really empowering community, empowering those that are in many ways at the bottom rung of the ladder.
100%.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And helping those people to get up ahead. And also, like, part of the initiative that we do at Fusion Rise is, I'm getting to your question, but I'm just answer this. Like, part of it also is to help to re-employ some of these people. To show them how they're supposed to be treated as an employee.
So it's really to model. And if I hear you correctly, and then I'm getting a deeper sense and a deeper understanding of where you're coming from, right? That you didn't want to work for any other employer because you felt that you cannot be under a yoke of perhaps continued slavery. Your words, you said, you don't want to be in a space where you're treated as your forefathers.
Yeah.
And so you fusion, for example, providing skills in the trades and construction is your way of modeling how employment, how treating other people should be like. Tell us.
And yeah, just to add to that is that, minority group people come to this country here and they have this notion or this mindset that they must take the lower tier job. They must, go under the table and take whatever is left over.
Yeah.
No, it's not like that. We are the builders and shapers of the world. We minority people, and we come to this so-called first world country.
Yeah.
And sometimes we reflect back. You're coming from a first world country to a third world country.
Yeah.
But to your point, yes, we want to shape the life of people. And why I choose to, embark on the entrepreneurial role is that I have so much to give to society that if I am just stuck at a 9 to 5 job working for someone, then I'll be useless on this earth. Just become a useless person. So yeah, struggle is real. And as we go, as I said, Fusion Rise really is to shape, model, and, get community purpose, having them living a life of purpose, And I came to your book launch and I take something from it, I say, you want to die empty. I want my people to be at that stage where they have lived a life where they can say, hey, you know what, I've done my part. When they're going home. So, and then our third tier in Fusion Rise is really to, as we build that workforce, is to embark on building affordable housing for our community. Not just in Victoria or BC, but across Canada and the globe in the future. Because housing, I believe that when a people can eat food affordably and live affordably, half of life stress is gone.
It's gone,
and then we realize that also. So that's just a little bit about Fusion Rise there. The Caribbean Hub now, it's a community-based initiative. Caribbean Hub is really a hub for all the Caribbean islands here in Vancouver Island. We're currently working together to get our island representative together to represent their country, because it's not enough of us here to try and have an association for each country. So we're bringing that together, and we have Island Fest already. We have in March. We have CCC, which is Caribbean Connection, which is to celebrate Carnival Saturday in Trinidad. We're bringing a sports day here. And there's just so much other programs and workshop that we're bringing to the community, because one of the things is that we realize for talents, we have to look outside of the island.
Sure.
So part of our initiative is to bring
talent,
create those talents here.
Okay.
So it's like what we're doing with the trades with Fusion Rise. The same thing with the community initiative is to create artists here, create those who play steel pan, create those who play the instrument from our ancestors, not just a fad or put on a show, but our ancestors, what they did or what they have done is important. And the more we pull away from that is the less we are living. Right?
Yet Oneil, there are 24 hours in a day. And all of these initiatives are demanding of your time. Really, really just inspired and impressed by how you're juggling all of this. And so I have gone online as part of my research for this conversation. And I don't know if I shared with you earlier, but I saw you singing on YouTube. You've got a YouTube page, and
don't tell my wife that.
I found that pretty interesting, and I heard you sing a particular thing that a couple of things that I watched. I could hear you and watch you sing some renditions of from Bob Marley, the late Bob Nesta Marley. Is your favorite artist?
Not really. Not really the favorite artist. I don't really have any favorite artists.
Okay.
I just love to listen to good content, good lyrics. Lyrics that resonate with me pretty much.
Okay.
When it comes on to lyrics, is either edifying, educating, or entertaining for me. So that's kind of weird. So I don't really have a favorite artist.
Okay.
If you put it that way. Yeah.
All right. And so moving from favorite artist, if you had to sit down and have a meal or a conversation with 3 people, living or dead, who would those people be?
Putting me on the spot.
On the spot.
Well, you know what? To be honest, like Gaddafi. That's his name.
Muammar Gaddafi?
Yeah.
Why?
You know what? That's my young sister. You know, those are the real leaders. And they were, you know, they have been killed because, you know, just like Bob, you know, you brought Bob a while ago, he's creating a revolution, not just physical, but spiritual. These guys, they're awakened spiritual movements. And, you know, our oppressors do not want those to happen. So to your question, you know,
so Muammar Gaddafi,
that's one. And you mentioned a name earlier, Miles Monroe. I, you know, yes, you probably listened to that man a lot. Sure. I, you know, he's a mentor that I've never met. He has inspired me in many ways, as a person, as a leader. And also, you know, Louis Farrakhan. You know, you know, we all have our shady part of life. We all have our pieces that we do. But when a man stand up in front of the face of, you know, what our many people are afraid to do, and speak as this man do, you know, it's something to wrap your head around, you know, sometimes make you nervous. But those three persons, if you ask, like there's many more, like you're on the list as well. But you know, I would love to be in the room with those people just to ask them if I have one question, just to get that,
just to tap into
real answer directly from them.
Wow.
You know,
that's amazing. And so, I mean, this far into your life, I mean, you've served in the military, you've, you know, done community building work, you've started businesses, and all of that comes with lessons, right? And so I want to, for my audience, for my listeners, so I've got listeners that range from, you know, fully fledged business people and professionals to students, or to my daughter listens to this podcast for some reason. I got no idea, but she listens to it. And so with all of these things that you've been through or that you have done, what is the one thing that has been your proudest accomplishment?
My proudest accomplishment is like so much of them, right? But to be honest, like my family.
Wow. Okay.
My family has been, and for many reasons, you know, I grew up from a big family, but I didn't get that family, right? So having my own family is like I have created my own tribe, my own pack, as you put it. And, you know, we ride or die together. So that's my one of my biggest accomplishment. And just having a family, like a person who don't have a family don't know what life is like with a family. And likewise, a person who have a family don't know what life is like without a family. So that, you know, you learn so many things from having children and having a wife, because you know, this is like my there's 5 of us in my household. That's 5 different personalities. That's 5 different everything, right? That would answer. That would be my family.
Okay. And perhaps the flip side, right? The flip side question being like, okay, we want to hear proudest accomplishments, etc., etc. What has been your biggest regret?
Biggest regret?
Or maybe slash, if I can make it
you know
easy,
what? I used to try to find that in my life, my regrets. And I don't have a biggest regret, because what the universe has taught me is that all the situations that I've been through that should have been a regret, there were actually lessons that was being taught to me. And it was just for me to take from those lessons what was applicable to me, and to leave what was not. And if it was a project or something that I was trying to work on and it didn't work, I don't see it as failure. I just see that I've missed some component, I've missed some part of it. And if I really want to get that project going, I just need to get those pieces together. So I don't have disappointment. I don't have failure. I have sad moments, of course. And I have times when I'm like, you know, but those are when the negative energy comes in. But when that positive side comes in, it's like, hey, it happened. How do we learn? How do we move on? Took me some time to get there, but you know, that would.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, really, I mean, I'm impressed as always, just by your your leadership and how you bring this praxis or way of thought into conversations. A last kind of negative question, and then I'll move on, because I'm trying to think through things as you speak. So not so many regrets, great accomplishment in having family. Fears, perhaps. Then, what's your biggest fear?
So you know what? At this age, being as young as I am or as old as I am, my biggest fear now is, especially as I put myself out there as a community leader, is the fear of my own people pushing me under the bus, or cutting that limb that I may be standing on for them, cutting it off, as we have seen it with many previous leaders. So as I go through life, like, that's kind of the fear that I have at the forefront. And if I don't know if you're following the question, it's gonna be how I deal with that fear.
Yeah.
But I don't. You know, there's something bigger in me, bigger than me, that helps me to deal with that fear.
That's so interesting, right? Just that fear. One of the things I was reflecting on just a couple of days ago was not fear of failure, not fear of, but fear of what will people think, what will, and then I shook myself and I said, look, Patrick, all of the things that you've done in life are not because of what people think. They've always been about you going out there with this internal desire and burning urge to do what you need to do.
Right.
Because, Patrick, no one on earth has the gifting, the talents, and the ability to do what you do. You do it because you've been gifted that way. And likewise, Oneil, like, I think in one of our first encounters, I mentioned to you that I can't do the things that you do.
Right.
But I would rather, exhaust time finding ways we can complement each other, finding time that we can bring community together, so that together we can, achieve more. One of the late pan-Africanists that I read about and researched around was this guy from my home country. He was called Benjamin Burombo. And back in the mid 60s, right at the height of the civil war in Zimbabwe, the fight against colonizers, he was hurt, not by the colonizers, but by the people that he was fighting for. And he said this, and it's a quote that's always forever etched in my mind. He said, on one hand, I'm fighting the colonizer. On the other hand, I'm using my hand to defend myself from the people I'm fighting for.
Yeah, that's very powerful. And that's just so real. That's real.
I found that to be so real back in the 60s as it is today.
It is.
Now, you and I serve in different, boards and different, community settings as leaders. We see that.
Yeah.
We see that the more we advance, the more we try to fight for our community, the more the very same community is picking up stones and
throwing at you. Yeah.
Why did you do the Island Fest? Who do you think you are? We've been here longer than you. Why are you doing this? Do you think you're much smarter? Do you think you're better? Do you think? And I look at it, I'm like, huh. So how then do you continue waking up and saying, I'm gonna push on? What is that driving thing that pushes you forward?
Yeah, I'm happy you asked that question, because one of the main pusher for me is my children. You see, if I don't create something for them to reflect back on when I'm past, then who's gonna do it? So, I'm from a community that we talk a lot. We research a lot.
Yeah.
We do everything a lot, except acting, except executing, except doing. So I find myself being a person I'm an executor. I realize that life is very short, and gifts is within all of us. And I realize whenever time an idea comes to you, or myself, it's not for you to keep it. It's not for you to try and figure out how it's gonna happen. Just act on it.
Wow.
Act on it, with mindfulness, of course, that you need to prepare somewhat. But as you start to take that journey, because that message was not really from you, it was given to you. it unfolds, it unpacks itself to make sure that it is delivered. So as I see, as to your point earlier, our people, they have been colonized. Colonizers have taught them, I don't know if you heard about the Willie Lynch theory, but what Willie Lynch theory is that if it was, he was like one of the main slave master, and that he was the one who was developing the instrument or system of how to, have slaves. And Willie Lynch theory was that his thing was, even if it doesn't work, they're gonna effectively control the black man for 400 years. If they fail, whatever experiment they do and fail. And if the experiment work, they're gonna have them for 1,000 years. And what keeps on pushing me is that my people have been blindfolded. Their ears have been covered up. Their eyes have been they're not seeing clear. So I think that people like you and myself and others out there and who have passed along, I think our mission ideally is to try and remove the blockage from their ears. Is to try and remove whatever is, allowing them not to see clearly. And, also to give them that kickstart, that spiritual awakening that they need to move forward. One of the inspirational pieces that came out of one of my meditation recently is that, our people, right? They are not locking. They are just afraid. And they're afraid because the system that we live in today, it's just called systematic racism and control. It's designed to instill fear into us. But what I would like to say to people who are listening, especially if you're a minority group or you're people of color, is that there's no need for you to be afraid because this earth belongs to you just as it is to anyone else.
Wow, Oneil Randall. I have less to say. The Voices Less Heard podcast show with Dr. PMak is essentially bringing, what I call ordinary people doing extraordinary work. People that normally would not be, interviewed by the Times columnist, by the Globe and Mail, but people who just continually work day and night to see the best in community, to do the best in community, as well as to uplift others. And so, thank you so much for coming to and being on this show. Wishing you the best this year in 2025. As Fusion Rise does its work, as Island Fest roars into life in August later this year, as well as your fitness, business as you move that forward. So, folks, we've been listening here to my conversation with Oneil Randall, who is an entrepreneur, a founder of businesses, as well as a community builder, who has done so many things, not only here in Victoria, back home in Jamaica, but certainly having a global impact. Thank you, and I look forward to having you back on the show to talk about community, to talk about aspirations that we all have, but importantly, to talk about how we should work together, collaborate together with many people out there to move forward these ideals of perhaps what I call I am because we have this one earth, we have this one planet that belongs to all of us, and that we are able to work together. Any last words?
Well, I want to say thank you for having me on your show as well. And as the late Michael Jackson says, we are the world.
We are the world.
That's my final piece.
Oh, thank you so much. My listeners and viewers on our different channels, thank you so much for following with us on this journey. Me, Dr. PMak, talking to ordinary people doing extraordinary work. Thank you for listening to the Voices Less Heard podcast with Dr. PMak. I hope you enjoyed insights that came out of this conversation. Keep your notifications on. Our next episode will be dropping soon. Thank you and enjoy.